Just give it a cut. It's perfect.
Okay.
Alright. We'll get rid of some of these. We'll just use whichever ones you happen to have on top. These can go off to the side. We have to follow the instructions for the ritual exactly, because, like every ritual, it requires strict adherence to a tradition and a sacrifice of equal value. So with these cards, separate 2 cards into 2 piles, take 2 more, separate them at all times, making sure that you have the same number of cards in each pile. But don't give off all the cards. Stop at some point, leave some cards left in your hand, and just keep them there.
Okay.
Choose one of the piles to keep and one of the piles to sacrifice.
Okay.
They're equal, so the sacrifice will make it work. Whichever one you decide to keep, turn over that card on top of it, put the ring on there, let it sit until it's attuned. Turn the card back face down, the card's in your hand, buried. The other pile, the sacrifice pile, you can just throw it in the middle of the deck somewhere, square everything up.
Okay.
When that's done, call me back over. I'm going to be sitting over here looking away, plugging my ears.
Okay.
Hopefully the ritual will work.
Okay.
Oh, don't put those back together. Just shuffle those. Pick up the pile again. Take the ring. Now I want you to deal a card towards you, a card towards me, back and forth. Now I'm going to see if the ring can figure out which of these 2 piles it ends up in. Okay. No? Yep, I'm getting something. No? Yeah, okay. I'm sure. Go ahead. Turn this pile. It's not going to be over here.
Turn it over?
Yep, just turn the whole pile over, spread it out. Confirm that your card is, in fact, in that pile.
My card is in this pile.
Okay. Perfect. Turn it back over. Bury it into this one. I'm going to try it a little bit harder this time. Hopefully, the ring will tell me exactly which card is yours. Take it again.
Whole pile?
Whole pile. Just deal them one at a time onto the table right here. You can do it face up, face down, whatever you want. So, I'm getting something from this one. The ring knows this card. It's black? It's club, 6 of clubs.
That's it.
That was your card?
That was my card.
Oh, this time the ritual worked. Thank you. Alright, this one's entirely self-working, and it uses a principle which is the inverse operation of my last tutorial here on Penelope's Mirror skill. This involves what we could call the reverse Penelope principle, but for short we can just call it the Epolenep principle, which is just Penelope backwards. So why is it the same thing? So the Penelope principle takes a card that's in the middle of a pack and through a Pharaoh or a Klondike shuffle, which accomplishes the same thing, moves it to a position that is equal to the size of a separate pack that's taken out. This one, the Epolenep principle, takes a card that is at a position equal to the size of a packet that's taken out and moves it to the position that would be the middle of the combined pack of cards. So exactly the same thing but backwards. But the difference is every bit of this can be done in the spectator's hands. You can just tell them to do it and they'll put the card in the right place themselves. So the basic operation is exactly what you see in the performance. You make two, actually I'm going to reduce, I use 20 cards. It doesn't matter, any even number of cards should work. I think you could probably use odd number of cards too, it's just a little bit more complicated to calculate where it will end up in the end. So, just for the sake of time, since it involves a lot of dealing when you have a spectator do it, you do it with a small pack of cards, 20. And so the operation is to start by having it separated into two equal piles. As long as these two piles are equal, this will work. So supervise. Don't do like I did in the performance and expect them to get it right when you walk away and plug your ears. When you have the advantage of doing it several times until it works, you can do that. But if you want it to work every time, supervise and make sure no mistakes are being made. So here we have two equal piles. One of the piles gets discarded and doesn't come back. The other, you have them remember a card. You can just have them lift up and peek at it if you want while you look away. And then you tell them to bury it under the rest of the cards. Just put the ones in their hands on top. At this point, you come back and turn back around so you can supervise again and have them deal it out into two piles. What you're going to do while they do this is pay attention to where the first one goes. You can direct them to put it on their left so you just know automatically it's going to be there. And then from then on, you're just going to be counting the number of cards that land in the second pile. You don't have to do this part. It just depends on how you want to end it. But if you want to do it like I did in the performance, you want to count how many cards are in this pile, or you can, like after they're done, just spread it out casually, like you don't actually care about it, but just enough that you can see how many cards are there. In this case, we ended up with 7 in this pile. Now you have them turn over the first pile they dealt to. Again, this could be turned, if you're doing it the performance that I did, you want to have them turn it over where you can see all the cards. Right? Now ostensibly you're doing this so that they can confirm that their card is in fact in that pile, but it definitely is going to be in that pile. So the point is that this is it. This is the end of the principle. It's done working. What it's done is put the card, since we started with 20 cards, it put the card, what will be the 10th position if we were to stack the second pile back on top of the first. So if you have them put the second pile they dealt to on top of the first, now their card's in the 10th position. It doesn't matter how many cards they threw away at the beginning. It will always now be in the 10th position from the top. So, since I know there are 7 cards over here, I know that their card is 10 minus 7 equals 3rd from the top position over here, so I know that's the Queen of Clubs as soon as they spread it. So I could just count with my eyes. So, have them, this is the part that you would normally end it with, and you have them stack them back together. Although, you could just not have the cards stacked back together. You know it's in the 3rd position, but I think it's more impressive if you delay the reveal as much as possible. So stacking them back together, putting it in the 10th position, means you can take the time to have them go through the cards while you count to 10. And when you get here, they get here, you stop them and say, this is your card. And if you did that phase where you had them turn it up, you can tell them, yeah, I know it's the Queen of Clubs, because you already saw it. And of course, you can just as easily do this whole procedure over the phone. You probably don't want to have the part where you reveal what the card is, because you can't really look at them, and you'd have to have them tell you what all the cards are, and so you don't really have that subtlety of them not knowing how you got the information. They told you what the cards were, so skip that part. But you can have them take a pile of 20 random cards out of a deck, tell them to put them in their left hand, tell them to deal them one pile to their left, one pile to their right, or you could just tell them cut off some number of cards and put it on the left, count how many cards you've got there, put the same number of cards on the right, whatever. Give very explicit instructions, and at this point ask, since you can't look at it and confirm, ask them to check that the cards have the same number, the piles have the same number of cards, and tell them to toss away one, put it back in the box, back with the deck, whatever, and to look at the top card and remember it, and then put all the cards in the hand on top. And you check at this point, double check. You do have one pile with the card you saw. You remember your card and it's buried somewhere in that pile, and say, okay, yes, it's good, it's there. Tell them to deal a card to their left, a card to their right, a card to their left, a card to their right, a card. You tell them a few times, and then tell them to keep going like that until the whole pile is dealt out. And then you can have them. So here's a cool presentational idea. When they first turn up the card to select it, have them set their phone down. Actually, you probably should do that at the beginning if you're doing this over the phone. Set the phone down and put you on speaker, and then flick the card next to the microphone so you can hear what it sounds like. This is just a presentational thing. So when they get to this point, you can have them, you could say, pick up the packet on your right, because you know that doesn't contain the card. Hold it next to the microphone and flick. Run your finger along the edge so that all the cards snap. And when you hear that, you can say, no, I didn't hear a card that sounded like yours. Try it with the other pile. And you say, oh yeah, I heard that. I heard a card that sounded just like yours. Put the other cards back on top of that pile. Actually, it might even make sense to have them do this one first and this one second, so that you can just tell them to put the pile they're holding on top. Either way, at this point, you tell them, yeah, I'm sure I know where your card is now. It's in the bottom half, whatever. But you get them to reassemble, make sure that they're putting the second pile on top of the first, and then you have them take each card off one at a time and snap it, and you can say, no, that's not it, no, that's not it, no, that's not it, no, that's not it, and you're just counting to 10 again. And when that sounds really like it, turn that card over. Is that your card? They turn it over, it's their card. So all of that, since it can be done in the spectator's hands, you can do over the phone and have a nice little presentation, present it to a friend that lives in a faraway city or something. It's a lot of potential uses for this principle, but these are just a few simple ones that I've come up with to make sure that the procedure doesn't get too involved. I'm sure you'll think of ways to use it yourself. So have fun.